Let's now take a chance to hear from a foreign expert's perspective on this huge issue. The historic meeting of the leaders of the two Koreas in the United States is being closely observed around the world. Let's now connect to Bruce W. Bennett, a senior defense researcher at the RAND Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to do so.
The prospect of a meeting with Kim Jong-un in the DMZ came as a surprise in form of a tweet. But, of course, many say it had been planned beforehand. Either way, what can we expect out of this historic meeting? President Trump said it's just a step, but could it lead to a more in-depth discussion, perhaps a working level talks maybe?
Well, I think the first thing we have to recognize is the president has described this as a 2-minute meeting. If it's 2 minutes, it's going to be very hard to have any substance, even setting follow-on discussions. If it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, that might be different. But so far, all we know is that it's planned to be just very short. I think, though, the key thing is, will the president have a specific proposal that he wants to give Kim Jong-un that hopefully will make a difference in the subsequent discussions?
Now, we've seen a flurry of developments since Kim and Trump last met in Hanoi, including the summits between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un, as well as Russian President Putin and Kim Jong-un, and of course the exchange of personal letters between Kim and Trump. Do you expect a possible change in Washington's stance in terms of their denuclearization approach?
Well, Washington insisted after Hanoi to talk about the end state of negotiations. I think many people have misunderstood that they were insisting upon a one-step deal. They were instead trying to get to an end state and define what that is, because at Hanoi, Kim was asking for about 70% of the end state while offering about 5%, and that was unacceptable. So you have to define what it is we're trying to go towards, then you can talk about step by step. Hopefully that's the kind of thing that we're going to move to, but unless they take more than a few minutes, they're not going to do that on this occasion.
Now, on a related note, President Moon Jae-in says dismantlement of Yongbyon nuclear site is an irreversible step in denuclearization. But do you think scrapping one nuclear site would be enough for Trump?
Well, and there you get to the problem that occurred at Hanoi. At Hanoi, President Trump asked Kim Jong-un if indeed all of the assets associated with the Yongbyon facility would be part of the deal. And Kim told him no, that a particular uranium enrichment facility would not be. So this was already not a full Yongbyon. And even if you close down all of Yongbyon, you're only removing about 30 to 40% of North Korea's uranium enrichment capability. So I think we have to recognize that Yongbyon's not irreversible. Kim could still continue to increase the number of his nuclear weapons with what he was offering at Hanoi. We have to get something more or get something different or at least get a demonstration, because at this point, Kim hasn't done any denuclearization. Instead, he's been increasing the size of his nuclear force.
Quite a few interesting facts you raised about Yongbyon nuclear site there. Now, Kim Jong-un reportedly told Chinese President Xi Jinping that North Korea's ultimate goal of denuclearization is its regime security during their summit. But is there a viable way to guarantee North Korea's regime survival?
Well, you can't guarantee the survival because his biggest problem may be internally. He may be facing problem from hardliners internally. At least that's what he's claimed in his negotiations discussions in the past. So I think you have to say we can offer things that would help with his regime security, but we can't guarantee it because we can't guarantee all of the potential dimensions. We can guarantee that the United States will not try to undermine his regime survival. And that has been done many, many times since these denuclearization discussions began. And he didn't think that was adequate. So it's not quite clear what it is exactly he's looking for, if it's not just America saying, we will not undermine your regime. We will make sure that, if possible, from our perspective, you continue to maintain your control.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Bennett, for your insights this afternoon. Dr. Bennett, Senior Defense Researcher at the RAND Corporation, joining us today.